Our visiting devotees, you may get tired of hearing the words welcome to ISKCON Houston. When I visit Texas A&M, because it's a nice university not far from here, they have this thing when you get on the elevator, as soon as the door opens, there's a voice, recorded voice that says, "Howdy." So, howdy. Or Haribo. Some appreciation I wanted to share the other day, but here we go. Our access to love of Radha and Krishna has everything to do with getting the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and to get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the mood of service, according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, the mood of service to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Dasya Rasa opens up the door for Braja Prem. So the service that y'all are doing here, the service of bringing the message of Bhakti to younger generation people of all descriptions, it's a very important service. So I honor all of you that are helping, assisting in whatever way you're assisting in that important service, because it's an important service for the world, for ISKCON, and for yourselves. Now the topic, there's a nice screen with some nice images. There's a local devotee here in Houston. She came from some other place, but she's living here now. Shruti Mangara. These nice illustrations, the color and everything, it's her work. I really like her artwork, so credit goes to her. The topic, Kalakanta requested something that's practical, and so this is something practical. And specifically, the meaning of taking shelter of the holy name comes from a devotee from some other part of the world who struggles. You know, probably know some people that struggle. Maybe you're one of those people. And he struggles and struggles, and I didn't notice, but he did, that each time he brings this struggle, another struggle, my message to him has been, take shelter of the holy name. So then he wrote back and said, I just reread all those communications, and I don't understand it. What's the meaning? So this is dedicated. Times you'll struggle. Take shelter of the holy name. What does that mean? And here's a nice image. Never let go of his lotus feet. Shelter is something that we learn from Rupa Goswami, the 6 limbs of surrender from Bhakti Vinod Thakur, etc., from Padma Purana. You know what they are, those of you that read Prabhupada's books. It's, like this one is, you're protected. That's one of the 6. Feeling we want to be protected because we're tiny and there's something bigger than us that's causing us trouble. So we want protection. And Krishna is that protection. Taking shelter of Krishna for protection, for maintenance, for accepting things favorable, rejecting things unfavorable. Those are limbs. Dedicating everything. Those are limbs of surrender. And taking shelter means to surrender. Now, how do you take shelter or surrender to a name? Like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Because it's a sound. How do you take shelter of a sound? Well, people sing, and music is a very essential part of culture, and people have different musics, songs that they sing in the ways that they sing it in the modes of nature. But transcendental sound is a little different. Here's a nice verse from Vishnu speaking. Shabda Brahma Param Brahma Mamhobe Shashvati Tanu. Tanu means form. Tanu means form. And Shashvata means an eternal form. So Vishnu is saying, these two forms of mine, namely Shabda Brahman, transcendental sound, and eternally blissful spiritual form, Parabrahman. So, take an image. There's the Parabrahman, the deity of Nilamadava and Radha Nilamadava. That's a transcendental form, transcendentally, eternally blissful form. Mamobhe. These are Krishna's forms: sound, Shabda, Brahma, and Parabrahma. And Prabhupada made it really simple. He was really good at pablamizing philosophy. Krishna and his name are non-different. That's the nature of something absolute. We've all heard it umpteen times. You can say water, water, and there's no water. You say Krishna, Krishna, and there's Krishna. Because Krishna is absolute. So because the name Krishna and the person Krishna are of the same absolute nature, they're the same. But this is saying something in addition. What's it saying? It's saying that Shabda, or the sound, also is a form. I'll say it again. Shabda is a form. There's the deity form, and Shabda is also form. So let's just make a real practical example. The temple president, well, what do you call yourself these days, Shamsundar? Over there in the green kurta there is Shamsundar, Shamasundar Das. And there's the sound, Shamasundar Das, and the person are not the same. Shamasundar and Shamasundar is the same, but Shamasundar Das and the form, Shamsundar, and the person, Shamsundar Das, are different. So there's, pardon me, I'm going to drill down on this a little bit more, but it's to establish what it means to take shelter. That the sound of Krishna's name and Krishna are non-different, and that sound is non-different than his form. So here's two Sanskrit terms. Some of you, I understand, are a little newer. So fasten your Sanskrit belt. We're going to talk about two terms. Vacha, that's the sound. That's the denote. That's the point once denoted. So we say Radha Nilamadava, and that's the denoted. That's the form. Parabrahman, denoted. And then there's Radha Nilamadava. That's the Vachaka. That's the Shabda. That's the sound. And then there's the form. Or in Padma Purana, it's Nama and Nami. That's a little easier. Nama is the name. We all know Harinama. Nama is the name. That's the sound from the screen. That's the Shabda. Nama. And then there's the object named, Nami. So do it again. There's Shabda. That's the designator, and Parabrahman is the designated. The sound and the sound that's indicated by the sound, the object that's indicated by the sound. So what's being said here, this is the Bhagavatam and it's Lord Vishnu speaking. These are two forms. There's a deity form and the sound also has form. That's the point. And so when you take shelter of the name, the meaning of taking shelter of the name is there's a form. There, within that sound is form. So what's it going to be like? One day we'll realize Krishna, right? We're saying the name and Krishna's over there, his form. Now that may happen, but also within the sound is form. Nama, Rupa, Guna Lila. Within the chanting of the name, Everything is there. There isn't something that isn't there. Everything is there. So that taking shelter of the name means you're making connection with both the form that is of the name and the form that is being denoted by the name. That's the beauty and the mercy of taking shelter of the name and the process of chanting the name. Now, here's a very nice illustration of what I just said. This is a verse by Rupa Goswami. Letters are a little small, but it's big enough on my screen I can read it. You all know who is Rupa Goswami, even the newer people. He's the most authoritative person, and he's the next in line behind Lord Chaitanya, Rupa Goswami. And we revere Rupa Goswami. We're followers of Rupa Goswami, and this is his glorification of the name. Oh Harinam, the tips of the toes of your lotus feet are constantly worshipped by the glowing radiance emitting from the string of gems known as the Upanishads, the crown jewel of all the Vedas. You are eternally adored by liberated souls such as Narada and Shukadev. Oh Harinam, I take complete shelter of you. So, shelter requires or includes recognizing that the name has form. The name not only has form, the name has feet. And not only the name has feet, but the name has toes. And the tips of the toes of the name are worshipped by the Vedas. Not only the Vedas, the crushed jewels, string of gems of the Vedas. You know, like a king has a treasury. We don't have kings anymore. Kings had treasuries. And amongst the treasuries, there were some really special jewels called the crown jewels. And the crown jewels on the Vedas is the Upanishads. And the Upanishad crown jewels have radiance. And the radiance of those Upanishads are worshiping the tips of the toes. That's the Lord's toes up there. The tips of his toes. I'm reaching up in the air. Everyone's looking, where am I reaching? That's the Lord's toes. You know, the Upanishad's radiance, worshiping the tips of the toes of the holy name. You know, they're the most exalted in all the Vedas. And they're looking up at the tips of the toes of the holy name. They're worshiping. And the liberated souls like Narada and Shukadev, they eternally adore those same tips of the toes of the holy name. I take complete shelter of you. The message, the holy name, there's the holy name and there's the form. The holy name has form. It's one of the two forms, the verse we just read. So we're not there yet. But we're encouraged to take shelter. And it's really important. It's valuable to know what it is that you're taking shelter of, because otherwise, what's the impetus to take shelter? Now, knowing doesn't mean you're going to do it, but if you know it, there's impetus. So that's part of what this morning's message is. Taking shelter of the holy name means understanding what the holy name is. It's a start. That's what we're doing right now. Now, I'm moving along. Next is a nice illustration that I've taken from Satchidananda Swami. Maybe some of you are familiar with his teachings on chanting. And this is from his writings, this illustration. And it shows 3 gates. And then imagine that those 3 gates are gates into the king's treasury, where he has this, jewels and amongst them is the crown jewel. Are meant to represent, and the artist that did this artwork for him is the alignment of body, mind, and heart towards what? Towards Krishna in the form of his holy name. So taking shelter, the meaning of taking shelter of the holy name includes a subset of that is alignment of body, mind, and heart to the object. There's a submission to the object. The object is the name or the tips of the toes of the form of the name. And so I'm going to, this morning, just focus on the heart part because the heart drives everything else. Now, you have to align your body and your mind, but the heart drives both. If you accept, in principle, you accept this is the goal of this is our bhakti process. This is the goal is to take shelter, and I want to understand what it means to take shelter of the holy name. Let's go to the heart level. And what does it mean, similarly, to chanting from the heart? You've heard that. What does it mean? How do you do it? Well, again, some very nice illustrations, compliments of Shruti. Sometimes we act from the platform of the mind, more than sometimes. And at other times, we act from the platform of the heart. Bhakti doesn't mean abandon or trash the mind. It just means you act from the platform of the heart. In our relationship with Krishna, we choose to act and serve from the heart while directing our mind to him. You see on the left side of the screen, there's Krishna up there, and there's somebody making a little offering of flowers and fruits and looks like bells, and they're making an offering to Krishna. So what is it that Krishna wants? Bells and fruits and flowers. He wants your heart. That's what Krishna wants. He wants our love. And so when that from the heart position, choosing to act from the heart, then the mind can very easily be directed. So the meaning of taking shelter of the holy name is from the heart, I want to be connected again with the tips of the toes of the form of the holy name. I mean, that's a lot to process, but it's at the heart level, it's quite simple. And the difficulty is we have other shelters, unfortunately, at least conditioned wise, we think we have other shelters. And therefore, this acting from the heart is an ongoing process. It's a journey. But that's bhakti life. It's a journey going from where we are to where we want to go. And there's this big gap in between. We all know that space. And making the journey is an ongoing, making the choice of acting from the heart. So now let's talk about what that means. What does acting from the heart mean? It's a continuous process, as mentioned in the previous slide. Here's our key verse, the fundamental verse of the whole of Nectar Devotion. Get out your trumpets. Do, 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 do. The whole of Nectar Devotion, the whole of Rupa Goswami's teachings are resting on one verse. It's a foundation. It's a very important verse. And so you probably learned it. Or if not, let's learn it. This Anyabhilasha Shunyam Jnana Karmadya Navratam Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. We're going to spend some time with this verse because it teaches us what acting from the heart means, or chanting from the heart means, or taking shelter of the holy name means. Here's Prabhupada's translation. The highest bhakti is, that's Uttama Bhakti, Bhaktir Uttama. The highest bhakti is defined as, here's the phrase again, continuous service or emotions. It's both. With the emotions, that's the heart. And service is the body and the mind. This is the alignment message. Directed towards Krishna, his expansion forms, or others related to him, with a pleasing attitude toward Krishna. So here's a assembly of devotees, and they're to be served, Vaishnav Seva, in relation to Krishna, with a pleasing attitude towards Krishna. And there's like lots of people that aren't in the room. There's a lot of people in Houston, a lot of people in Florida, a lot of people. And they're to be served also, because they're spirit souls, in relation to, with its pleasing attitude towards Krishna. That's the from the heart part. That's where the anukulyena in the Sanskrit, anukulyena Krishna anushilana. It should be devoid of desire. That's the first part is now. It should be devoid of desires other than the desire to please the Lord, and unobstructed by impersonal gyan, the materialistic rituals of karma, or other unfavorable acts. Prabhupada's translation. So the pleasing attitude towards Krishna, that's bhakti. That's bhakti. That's the heart of bhakti, or using Jiva Goswami's language, that's the primary characteristic of bhakti. The others are secondary characteristics. Primary characteristics, secondary characteristics. If you'd like, I'll make a copy of this available. You can have a copy. You can do with it whatever you like. Now, to chant from the heart, or chant or serve from the heart, we need this alignment principle. Consciousness, that's who we are, because we're conscious and consciousness, both, with the heart of bhakti. Nice graphics, right? What's the heart of bhakti? We're drilling down. I hope you don't mind. Here's the terms of Rupa Goswami's verse. There you see three hearts inside each other. There on the outside, that's the 9 processes of bhakti. Anushilanam. That's what you do with your body and your mind. Then inner is the object. Krishna is the object. There's the body and the mind, there's the object, and then the inner circle is the heart. That's the intention to please Krishna. We're not there yet, but taking shelter of Krishna, the meaning of taking shelter of the holy name is this. It's with the intention of pleasing Krishna, we're using our body and our mind, and he is the object. And once again, the object is the sound. But the sound is not just a sound, like a material sound. It's, or water, or Coca-Cola, or somebody's name, or something. The city of Houston. Long drive to get here from Gainesville to Houston. Shoo. You know, that was your destination. But so the name and the place are not the same. You just didn't say Houston, you're in Gainesville, and voila, you're here. The effort to get to Krishna and pleasing Krishna is the heart. That's at the heart of bhakti. And then what's at the heart of carefully chanting? We hear this phrase, that's without offense, carefully. What's at the heart? It's bhakti. The same, this is the key. You know, I'm thinking of this devotee who has written 10 letters saying, I'm struggling. What should I do? And my answer over a period of time, a few years, has been take shelter of the holy name. That's what taking shelter of the holy name. At the heart of carefully chanting is bhakti. There's always a problem, right? We have other attachments. In the morning classes, we're discussing that topic. That's Uddhava Gita, 3 chapters worth. Krishna teaching Uddhava about detachment, so that one can become attached to Krishna. Once we reawaken our inherent intention to please Krishna, we can carry out our actions from the platform of the heart. That's a heart tree, you notice. All the leaves and flowers and stuff, that's hearts and hearts and hearts. There's a couple of super souls up there too, because that's at the heart of the heart. That's what the meaning of taking shelter of the holy name is. The primary action necessary to become closer to Krishna is chanting his name. That's the activity. Hmm. In our loving relationship with Krishna, we strive not only when chanting to carry out our actions from that place of love, not merely on a basis of duty. So that's a big topic. Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about it, a lot. The beginning is regulation, but the mature stage is not just duty, it's love. That's the spontaneous stage. We're not there yet. But to strive to take shelter, that's what it looks like. It's got lots of hearts in all these diagrams, right? Place of love, beyond duty. So here's a nice little Prabhupada story. Prabhupada's in Nairobi, morning walk. One devotee asked during the morning walk, Prabhupada, how do we know if we're chanting quality japa? Prabhupada, you must. Devotee, I know that I must, but how do I know what I am? Prabhupada said, there's no question you must. And Brahmananda said, he understands he must chant, but he wants to know how to evaluate when it's quality chanting. And then a long answer. There's no question. You're chanting because you must. I have said 16 rounds, you're chanting 16 rounds, you're chanting 16 rounds because you must. When it's quality, ask Shamsundar. There's no limit. Why 16 rounds? 16 million. That's quality. We're not there. So we're at the duty stage because we're told, or whatever that you have as a personal commitment at whatever stage of bhakti people are in. Take shelter to whatever degree they can, and they have capacity and inspiration and so forth. So that beyond duty is the spontaneous stage. That's the quality stage. Why is it that we can't take shelter or can't even understand what taking shelter means? It's with complete attention and surrender because we have other shelters. That's a tree, in case you didn't figure it out. And with that tree, that's Krishna's at the top of the spiritual tree, but we have roots in other things, other shelters, false shelters. So those have to be slowly let go of. In order to accept our true original shelter, we need to let go of the false impermanent ones, or anarthas, it's another phrase, or abhadras is another phrase, or something unwanted, something that's contamination of heart. And it takes a while because we're attached to the contaminations. We're attached. We don't like the misery, but we're attached to the sources of misery. Problema. So go on chanting and recognize as you sincerely and earnestly try to reach, some lights go on and you see some stuff inside you didn't even know were there before. Keep going. Let go of the stuff that doesn't belong. And that's the heart cleansing process of bhakti. When we become a little more successful, once we let go of false shelters and the mind that's distracted by them. Um, there's a singular purpose, the intention to please Krishna. Then you can call out the holy name from the core of your heart. There's somebody doing that. It's that's our process. That's the meaning of taking shelter of the holy name. When we offer our soul, our very self, at the lotus feet of the holy name, in a mood of complete surrender, then inattentive and mechanical chanting will cease. Until then, there's a mix, up and down, hills and valleys. If you're very familiar with that hills and valleys platform, don't worry, you've got lots of company. And just keep moving forward with the taking shelter and the letting go of things that are unnecessary. Shishilada Nilamadava ki. I'm trying to finish in time so that we have some discussion, because I'm hoping there'll be some discussion. Acting from the heart means acting from a place of who we are. We're actually eternal servants of the all-knowing, all-loving, and all-attractive Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Just ask Gopakumar. That's Gopakumar, being embraced by Krishna. So beautiful. I was hoping you would come back. But maybe he'll come in this lifetime, but you didn't come. So maybe the next lifetime, but you didn't come. In the next lifetime. So finally I came myself as your spiritual master, and now you've come. Please don't ever go away. I'll never go away. I'll never go away. That's taking shelter. And the access of the para Brahman, or the form of Krishna, is the name of Krishna. With a prayerful attitude, try to call out, call upon Krishna from the core of your heart. This is Prabhupada. My dear Krishna, I'm your eternal servant. Allow me to serve you by chanting your loving holy name. Please accept me. Now, Krishna is more than willing to accept, but we're not so willing. So calling out, this is Prabhupada's phrase, please accept me. That's the taking shelter of the holy name. Taking shelter of Krishna through the medium of his non-different holy name. Please accept me. So when chanting, try it. Try it. I've been to japa retreats, a number of them. One time at a japa retreat, one of the devotees periodically would raise their arms up in the air. And at the end, I asked him, what was that about? As I recognized, there I go again, distracted, reaching like a child reaching for the mother. That's what I was doing. Wow. That's taking shelter. Because like that first image you saw, never let go. And when that slackening in submission or taking shelter comes, return. Please accept me. Because we're dependent at all times. Now, as bhakti grows, and there may be some intimacy where you play with Krishna or dance with Krishna or so forth, other rasas. But in our present stage, it's this one, just be in his service, the service to the holy name. Now, here's something very interesting that I want to share. Perhaps you already know the word snake. This is from Jiva Goswami. I'll read, but it's in the section of Canto 6, Bhagavatam, Chapter 2. Just a little anecdotal distraction. Once upon a time, I was a brahmachari and distributing books. and as my full-time engagement. And I noticed that as volume after volume after volume of the Bhagavatam was coming out, we were distributing, third canto part 4, and would ask Prabhupada how people are going to relate to that. Prabhupada's answer: tell them it's like ice cream. Any side you lick on the ice cream, it's sweet. And it worked. People stopped asking. Anyway. So then, at a certain point in time, there were 3 books that were printed in mass quantity. Canto 1, Part 1. That time was 3 parts. Canto 2, Part 1, and Canto 6, Part 1. Now, Canto 2, Part 1 is a summary of the Bhagavatam. Canto 1, Part 1 is a summary of the Bhagavatam. What about Canto 6? It's the theology of the holy name, the first section. So that's what we're reading from. It's the Jamila story, and it's the teachings of the holy name, Nama Tattva. How are we to understand the glories of the holy name and the importance of taking shelter of the holy name? If you want to understand that topic, the first 3 chapters of Canto 6, you'll find it nicely presented. So Jiva Goswami has made a commentary on Canto 6, Chapter 2, Text 20, where he explains about chanting this way. He says there's 2 types of chanting. One without affection, that's the duty part. And then there's with affection. That's where we want to get. We don't have affection for the name, we have affection for stuff. And we're chanting because we understand it's good. And we feel something, so we're chanting. So here's what I'm just going to read Jiva Goswami's commentary on this topic, which has to do with taking shelter of the holy name. Of these 2, Kevala, without affection, and Sneha, Samyukta, with affection, the first type keeps the person from going to hell. And the second gives nearness to the Lord. Then he quotes Canto 10, Chapter 82, rendering devotional service to me qualifies any living entity for eternal life. But your prema for me, which has existed to bring the highest fortune, has caused you to attain me directly. That's the sneha. So duty or without affection can bring liberation. But what's beyond liberation is connecting in a very personal way with Krishna. That's the sneha. That's the taking shelter of the holy name. Then he quotes, also it is said that the Lord delays in giving his affection. And he quotes a verse, Krishna speaking to the gopis, Canto 10, Chapter 32. The reason I do not immediately reciprocate the affection of living beings, even when they worship me, O gopis, is that I want to intensify their loving devotion. They then become like a poor man who has gained some wealth and then lost it, and who thus becomes so anxious about it that he can think of nothing else. When you begin chanting, there's this, wow. And then after some time, there's, And, I'm not making progress. So that has different reasons. Commonly, it's offenses. But in the higher stages, Krishna may not, we're taking shelter of the holy name, but something is not moving inside. We're not feeling that reciprocation from Krishna that we know he's willing to give us. There's something inside but Krishna is indicating that Jiva Goswami is pointing. Sometimes Krishna does like that to increase our hankering, our mood of taking shelter our affection, our sankalpa. Strengthen it. Amisham anuvriti means affection, commenting on Krishna's words to the gopis, or continual service, which is one's very life. Thus, a Jamila had affection in chanting the name because it was also the name of his son, meaning he had affection for his son. So he was chanting with affection. So he got a great benefit. Finally, the Lord has great identity with his own name. For it was said in the previous verse of this chapter, the previous verse, chapter text 10, the Lord is attracted by the person who chants. So we're all chanting. So please know, dear devotees, it's important. You may be distracted, but Krishna is paying attention. He feels affection for you, even you may not feel affection for him. That's right in text 10 from chapter 2 of Canto 6. You can read it. Nama Vyaharanam Vishnor Yatastad Vishaya Matihi. Simply by chanting the holy name of Vishnu, such sinful persons attract the attention of the Supreme Lord. Our acharyas say just by saying the syllable Krish, Krishna feels, oh, he's calling my name. I have to save him or her. Krishna is attracted. Krishna has affection. Loving persons have affection for those who extend their love, even to extend their calling. So here's the conclusion, and then we'll consider questions you'd like to ask. By cultivating our connection with Sri Krishna in his vachaka form, that's the sound, gradually and naturally we will be invested with a potency which will touch and transform the hearts of others in amazing and unexpected way. As your heart becomes transformed, you'll become an instrument to transform. And we'll say it again. Nice graphics, huh? By cultivating our connection with Sri Krishna in his vachaka form, gradually and naturally we will be invested with a potency which will touch and transform the hearts of others in amazing and unexpected ways. And one more time. By cultivating our connection with Sri Krishna in his vachaka form, gradually and naturally, we will be invested with a potency which will touch and transform the hearts of others in amazing and unexpected ways. And who is a wonderful example of that? Our founder Acharya. A phrase that he repeated many times, Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu. Sarve Sukha means happiness. May everyone become happy in this world. That was what was in Prabhupada's heart, and it came from how he was empowered. His meditation was not his own well-being. His meditation was Sarve Sukhino Bhavanti, or as he put it, chant and be happy. It's a pretty simple way to say it, chant and be happy. And that's what Prabhupada did. So we're followers of Prabhupada, Prabhupada-nugas, being Rupa-nugas, and trying to learn the meaning and live our life according to taking shelter of the holy name, gradually becoming empowered to transform the hearts and the minds and the souls, the coverings of the souls of others. Hare Krishna. So that's it for this morning. And it's late already, 23 after. Let's see if there's some discussion. We have a portable mic system. Who has the portable mic? You have it, okay. Anybody would like to discuss any of these topics?
Hi, Krishna. Thank you for such a nice class. I was just wondering, sometimes, actually, a lot of the time, chanting out of duty seems to be very prominent for me. And it can feel like I'm stuck too. And so I was just wondering, is chanting out of duty, does it does it have to be like that, or can you just tap into like chanting with affection?
Um, everything has its price. Bhakti has its price. The price for bhakti is faith, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur or Lord Nityananda or Lord Chaitanya. So you, when you're stuck, what do? I mean, it's not like welcome to the club. There's the stuck club. There's lots of us in that position. No problem. What do? You invest faith. And okay, what's the reason for my investing faith, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a cultivation of faith. Bhakti can be described, has been described by our acharyas as different stages of faith. There's preliminary, and then there's prema, and there's stages of faith in between. So you nourish the stuck place, the duty place, by faith, and depending upon Krishna for the results. That's what we do. And Krishna recognizes, and Krishna reciprocates. And it can be, but commonly there's the sine curve, ups and downs, sometimes and sometimes. That the unsteady bhakti stage. That's where I am. What to do? To take shelter with faith that this is going to take me to where I want to be, to the affection place. And that in itself is a kind of affection. But it's up and down. It's sometimes and sometimes. That the cultivation of bhakti behind you.
I almost decided not to ask this question. Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for class. Because it seems like a silly question.
Could you take your mask down because it's muffled? Thanks. Yeah. Then after you can put it back.
Okay. It seems like a silly question, but I just was wondering if you would give a description. What is faith?
What is faith?
Yeah.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given a nice definition, beautiful definition. Shraddha is the Sanskrit word for faith. Shraddha, Shabde. Shraddha Shabde, Vishvas Kahe. Vishvas means the conviction. Faith is conviction that Sudridha, like Dhrita Vrata, determination. Sudridha, Nishchaya. Faith is the conviction that by achieving this one thing, all other desirable things will be accomplished. That's what faith is. And let's say a materialist, get money. Because if I can get money, then I'm going to be happy. So get money, get money. I have this conviction, get money, etc. The Olympic athlete, get the gold medal. By this one thing, other things are accomplished. So that's faith. Then the last half, Krishna Bhakti, Sarva Karma Kritahaya. The faith, transcendental faith is by pleasing Krishna. Krishna Bhakti, Krishna is the vocative. Unto Krishna, Krishna Bhakti, Sarva Karma Kritahaya. All other things are there. Just this one thing. Faith is that one thing. It's confidence, conviction. Now, where do you get that? By association of those that have it. And doing with those that have it, those things, not just imitating, but learning from and emulating and serving and receiving mercy from those who have it. That's how you cultivate it. But that's what faith is. By one thing, other things. Because otherwise, a nice verse, if you want to study this more, Bhagavad Gita 2.41, where Krishna is describing the difference between vyavasayatmika buddhi, very singular intelligence, and material intelligence. It's there in the verse and the purport. You have something? Yeah.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Sometimes when I'm chanting, I find myself calling out and asking Krishna to help me.
This is a unidirectional microphone. You have to hold it like it's an ice cream.
Okay, is that better?
Better.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sometimes when I'm chanting, I find myself calling out to Krishna and asking him to help me be able to listen more attentively, but I don't find that that helps. So I'm just wondering, am I just lacking the faith, and should we not be calling out until we have more faith? Is it just out of duty that I'm doing it?
Well, it can mean a number of things. Doesn't mean that you're necessarily doing something. Mean a number of things. So continue doing it, but why is it not working? We're distracted. We have other shelters. We're calling out, but it's not deep. It's whatever, cosmetic, or it's duty, but it's not from the heart. Or, it depends on each of us that we have a relationship with Krishna. We just read this nice verse where Krishna may be holding back because he wants you to go more deeply. Practicing devotees, that my experience is, we want the quick fix, and Krishna is not a quick fix person. Krishna wants our heart. So it's not like you're doing something wrong. It's Krishna wants your heart. And you're giving, oh, I'm calling, I'm doing this, and as I'm speaking, I'm thinking of somebody that's in that space right now. They've been given this important service, and they're struggling. And it's the time management and this and friendships and, and stuff, the world around them. But their realization, we had some, elaborate discussion. The realization is, from their side, it's really all about my relationship with Krishna. I haven't really taken deep shelter in Krishna, and therefore I'm struggling in all these fronts. I need to go more deeply in my relationship with Krishna. That's their autobiography, and yours and each of ours are different, but that's a very important principle. In our bhakti life, it's an important principle to connect with. And so make sure the alignment is there. The body, mind, and heart are aligned with what the goal is. And you just persevere, again, with faith. It's going to get me there. And you may say, like she said, I'm stuck. Or you said, it's not happening. I'm not going into that affection stage. And when will one of the top 5 questions as a sannyasi that travels and hears people and guides people and stuff, when will I get beyond that stage of mechanical chanting? It's, it's different ways of saying the same thing, but these answers are on topic, or questions, and the answers I'm trying to provide is on that same topic. And, we have to pay the price. You persevere because you have faith in Krishna. You have faith in those that are with Krishna and can guide you and take you to Krishna. You have faith, minimally, our founder Acharya and all the other predecessor Acharyas, and we invest faith in them, because if we don't invest faith in them, where are we? We're in La La Land somewhere. And that's not very pleasant. So I've been in La La Land for a long time. I'm very accustomed to it. I'm kind of attached to some parts of it. So therefore, it's not quick. Krishna wants our hearts. Take some time to withdraw from that and Nasate vijate bhavo, na bhavo vijate sataha. We let go of the temporary and we invest in Sat, Krishna, with faith. And stay with it continually. That's the message we've been hearing. Someone else? All the way in the back.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the class. We talked a lot about the heart in the class, and I was
Hold it like an ice cream cone. Yeah,
okay. You can hear me now?
much better.
Okay. I was wondering if you could describe exactly what is the heart and how do we access the emotions from the heart?
That's a nice question, and depends on different personalities, the answer you'll get. How do you differentiate? Another way of asking the same question, how do you differentiate the mind and the heart? Because there's an overlap. So one way of describing, Satchidananda Swami has his own way, and you can find his response online, and it's very nice. But a slightly different variation of that is, it's your deepest held convictions that's not dependent upon circumstance. Unchanging realities that you connect with. That's the heart. I mean, there's feelings connected with those unchanging realities. Then, values is more, I hold these values. That's, with combination of intelligence and mind. But the deepest held convictions, and there's feeling connected with the heart. Many people don't connect with their heart. They connect with their head, and they connect with their body. They don't connect with their heart. So what does heart mean? That's your question. It's who I really am. It's consciousness. And I'm giving different answers. It's kind of like a fireworks display. But it's who you really are, that the unchanging realities that you live by, regardless of time and your age and culture and everything. And and again, there's feelings connected with that. There's more to say. And I invite you, if you want to pursue it further, go online, find Satchidananda Swami's webpage, and he explains it in different language, but similar. Because it's I really like this alignment metaphor or methodology, body, mind, and heart. And they must align. Otherwise, your progress will be very slow. Progress, but slow. And if we're not making progress, it's hard to continue. The mind goes over somewhere. So connect with the heart. What the heart is, I said. Up front over here, someone with the microphone. How are we doing online? There's a bunch of probably.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I had a question about the anartas and how to recognize them when it seems like they may have been ingrained in our personality for so long we've become just normalized. We don't see them as something
We don't even know they're
unwanted.
there. We most generally speaking, we don't even know what they are, what to speak of, where they are. So you want to know how to recognize them. A real nice section of Jiva Goswami's writings that gives some detail is in Bhakti Sandarbha, where he covers this topic. But Um, for starters, you recognize them because they're very stubborn and they obfuscate or they block the power of bhakti. They're really powerful entities. Anarthas have the power to block the power of bhakti. I mean, clouds in the sky is the comparison. So I'm reaching up. There's the sun in the sky, and then there's clouds, like today is really cloudy and rainy. So the fullness of the and brightness of the sun is not something we experience, although the sun is fully bright and luminous and powerful, but we're not experiencing it because of the clouds in the sky. Similarly, the nature, in principle, the nature of anarthas is, although you're engaging in bhakti practice, just like these two questions, that it's not happening. The fullness and the exuberance, and that tells you there's anarthas in the heart because it has the power to block the power of bhakti. And then Jiva Goswami gives stages of anarthas. That's another, starting with the principle, then there's degrees of anarthas. And the first one is duplicity. You know what everyone knows what duplicity is. He gives as the example Duryodhana. The example of Duryodhana, I mean, anyway, I don't know if I'm, by giving this story, if I'm addressing your question. It's a nice story. Here's the nice story. I'll tell the story. Just to give it an idea of, how do we know what anarthas look like? Duplicity is the starting point, according to Jiva Goswami. When Krishna was requested or volunteered to go to the Kaurava kingdom from Indraprastha to Hastinapur and make a peace settlement, it was known that he was coming. Duryodhana made arrangements to honor Krishna. The big description. Festoons and sandalwood and scented rose water all over the roads, and broken banana trees, and brahmanas chanting, and the whole shebang, to greet Krishna coming to visit. And when he came close to the city, he left the city, because this is culture. He left the city to greet Krishna, and he spoke to Krishna. And he said to Krishna something like, welcome to Hastinapur, and you're our cousin, and you're such an important personality, blah, 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 blah. I love you, and please take meals at my home, his palace. Krishna's reply, there's no love. You can't say you love me and you have animosity towards Arjuna. There's no love in you towards me, duplicity. And not only you, but there's no one here in Hastinapur where is, as he said, Krishna said, one will take a meal either because they're hungry or out of love. Someone has invited them. I'm not hungry, and there's no love. But there is one place where I will take my meal, one place, and that's at the home of Vidura. So we went to Vidura's home because there's love. No duplicity. And you know the story. His wife was so excited she offered something that wasn't even edible. There's different Mahabharats, but banana peels instead of bananas or something, or porridge instead, because it was so. But out of love, Krishna accepted. So that's a symptom of anartha. It's duplicity. And then it goes on. It's a nice section, Bhakti Sandarbha. But in principle, so there's details and details of what the anarthas may consist of. But we understand, now you understand at least the principle. And it's common for devotees who go along in the bhakti process to realize, yuck, look at all that stuff inside I didn't even know was there. Yikes. And then, process that in different ways. Like, I'm bad, there's something wrong with me, or check out because I don't like looking at that stuff, or get numb or something. There's different ways that people respond. But that happens. You'll come to know what they are. Krishna will help you see. We have another. I think could you do this? Could you send me the online questions? I'll send back recordings and you forward the recordings for the online people, because let's honor the people in the room.
Hi, Krishna. Again, sorry.
New mask. Thank you.
I was just wondering and maybe this, I know you said that you didn't want to talk about the mind and body too much, but that picture, the gates leading up, it made it seem like you have to go through the body, you have to go through the mind, and then you get to the heart. And also I was thinking about how Prabhupada said chanting is kind of like or bhakti yoga is kind of like an elevator where it just goes straight back. And also the gates made me think of like Ashtanga yoga, how there's 8 limbs and it's like a ladder where you have to climb. So I was just wondering if is it 100% they have to align, or is it that we can focus on the heart and naturally they'll follow, or is there a percentage that we should worry about our body and then our mind? Or
Each of us are individuals. That's nice. And so some persons have more emphasis on this or that or the other. In the final analysis, they must align. My appreciation is, if you strive to connect from the heart, it makes the other alignments easier. Or say it in converse. If you don't connect with your heart, it makes the other alignments more difficult. But some persons, let's say some persons don't have the connection with the heart, but they do their asanas and sit properly and all that. And then some persons are trying to be mindful when chanting, and they find some energy in that mindfulness chanting. But it wavers unless the heart is connected. So whether it's the front door, the back door, the side door, there has to be alignment. Personally, I feel most effective is focus on the heart. That's why I presented this the way that I did. But different persons have different, entryways into that alignment process.
thank you.
Anything else in the room? Shamsundar? You're pointing to him and he's pointing to you. Okay, over here.
Following the questions about anarthas, so even if we can see or we're starting to see them,
Even if we do what?
if we can see our anarthas, if I'm starting to see them come out, is there anything that we can do?
Yes. Strive and depend on mercy. This is a very simple formula: effort and mercy, prayasa and kripa. That's our bhakti life. A little sharing. Mother Jasoda binding Krishna, she can't bind Krishna, she can't bind Krishna, she can't bind Krishna, and then Krishna gets bound. So our acharyas teach, Krishna saw her effort, and then he withdrew his potencies that were preventing her from binding her, so she could bind him. I mean, those potencies are identified by our acharyas. Satya Sankalpa Shakti. I want to go steal more butter. So she can't bind Krishna. And Icha Shakti, you know, he was exhibiting that potency. He had a desire, and who can stop Krishna's desire? Nobody. Even Mother Yasoda. She couldn't. But because of her effort and her effort and her effort with love, with parental affection, I mean, I wouldn't recommend you try to go bind Krishna. That won't be very good. Become a pujari and put a rope around Krishna, and you're in trouble. But if you're on that spontaneous platform, or moving towards that, it's our effort and effort and effort and mercy. That's how you get beyond anarthas. With, again, this faith consideration, because Krishna's kindness is there. I'm weak, but Krishna is strong and he's very kind. I'm dependent. My effort is in a dependent, not a doership mood. That's bhakti. That's our bhakti life. And then Krishna withdraws whatever it is, the anarthas, and there we are with Krishna. Another nice verse, I like the Bhagavatam. So another nice verse is Vyasadev's realization, according to the instruction of Narada. Vyasadeva is saying to Narada, I don't feel something's wrong. I did all this service and I'm not feeling, something's missing, right? Something's missing. Narada arrived and instructed him, you haven't glorified Krishna sufficiently. Here's what you should do. I mean, he said lots of other things, but 2, sit in samadhi, and that which you realize, then write that. Yaya samohito jiva atmanam trigunatmakam. He saw Krishna with Maya behind him. Now we can't see Krishna because Maya is in between us. But Krishna can say, Maya, step back. We're dependent upon Krishna telling Maya to step back, because otherwise Maya's got a whammy controlling us. And we're struggling with Maya. We don't like struggling with Maya. But Krishna can remove Maya. That's the bhakti principle. We're dependent. The doership mentality is trained up in all of us. I mean, college kids are no exception. College youth, strive and you can do it because, you've done it your whole life. Go, go, go. Yeah, go, go, go. Then comes bhakti, which says not just strive, but depend upon Krishna. What? That's bhakti. It's not happening. It's not happening. The narratives are blocking me. What to do? Keep striving and depend on Krishna's mercy. And when Krishna extended his mercy to Mother Yasoda, she could bind him. That's Kripa Shakti. That's what we want. I mean, we're not Mother Yasoda, but the principle applies to us. Shyam Sundar, and then I think we're going to end.
On this display on alignment, Sachinandan Swami made one practical comment, which I would like to share for benefit. That first 2 doors, that represent our effort. So we can push those doors and open. But the third door, according to Sachinandan Swami, that it's locked from inside. So you can't push it.
Good.
By the mercy only.
Yeah,
you can.
Very good. The Ashtanga Yoga system, because that was mentioned in one of the questions, that's mechanical. I guess that means class is over. Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai.